Hi everybody, this is Philip Martin, and this is On Film on Video, and we're back this week after last week when I screwed up and I had some technical difficulties. I recorded all this, but somehow when I downloaded it to my computer, which then I have to upload it to the Democrat-Gazette's, somehow I lost the sound. And I had the sound on the original file, but I could not do that quick enough to get it all. I couldn't figure it out. So this week, I've done a couple little tests, and I think it's going to work. If it doesn't work, well, then you won't see this, and I won't have to explain. I guess the big news this week, I want to talk a little bit about Filmland, which is the ACS, the Arkansas Cinema Society's event that starts next week. And the great thing about it is Filmland, to my mind at least, is not a film festival. It's not a film festival because basically it's got one movie a night and one event a night, and everybody can go to this event and they can see it, and that's great. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I really like that. I just don't think it's a film festival, because a film festival is something that you can walk into one movie. If you don't like it, you walk out and go into the next theater and see that. That's the way I think of a film festival. It's a festival of films. It's not just one night. But that's okay. It's like, that's sort of a, I don't know if anybody even calls Filmland a film festival. But the big news is they're bringing in Jessica Chastain, who is starring in The Eyes of Tammy Faye, which actually opens this week. But she's coming next week to do a Q&A after the screening of the film next Saturday, week from tomorrow, with Jeff Nichols, the co-founder of the ACS and the director, okay? Writer-director. Good writer. I imagine that's going to be fruitful. I imagine that would be a good thing to see. I don't know if I'm going to go in person yet or not. I might watch it later. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be, because I think Chastain, even though I don't know her, I've never met her, I know her body of work, and she's a really interesting actor and a very good actor. And I say that as somebody who has thought a little bit about acting. I did it when I was a kid. When I was younger, I used to do plays. I was in all the school plays and did a couple other things. Nothing you've heard of, but done a few things. And I would still do it if it didn't take so much blasted time and so much blasted dedication, and you didn't have to work so hard at it, and you didn't have to do all those things that are ancillary to and adjacent to acting. That's what keeps me from doing it. I mean, it's sort of like, if someone asked me tomorrow to be in their movie, I might, if I don't have to stand around and wait a lot. I've been asked to be in movies and said no. So, don't ask me to be in your movie. I'm not trying to get parts. But I mean, I understand it a little bit because I have done it. And I think it's kind of this way. It's kind of like being able to sing on key or not. Because some people just can't do it, no matter what. And that doesn't mean that they're not smart people. It doesn't mean they're not talented people in other areas. It just means that they have this inability to do this one thing. And all acting is being unselfconscious about the audience who's watching you. It's like being able to forget there's an audience who's watching you. And if you can do that, then you can act. Now, you can do all kinds of things to get better. And there's all kinds of levels of the game. But what kills you is what makes... it's impossible for people who can't do it to do it. It just is. And you got to respect that and just say, okay. Now, I've seen some people who can't do it on film. It doesn't happen very often these days, but I have seen it. And I've seen some people who are really bad at it, who probably could get better, But I really think it's sort of a binary thing. It's either an either or. You either have the switch on or you don't. If you don't have it on, that's fine. But if you have it on, you can do it and you can get better. And you have the basic, architecture that allows you to do it. And I would be interested in how Chastain, approaches it, her process. I'd be interested in that. I mean, I know a little bit about some actors' process because they've told me. Billy Bob Thornton, basically, it's just him. It's him in the situation with the background, with the specifics of his character. Whatever's happened to that character has happened to him, so therefore he is the character, if you understand what I'm saying. Ray McKinnon put it really nicely in a Oxford American essay a few years ago, which I can't find online. I don't know what the Oxford American has done to nail their stuff behind a paywall or something, but I couldn't even find a mention of it, so maybe I'm dreaming it. But Ray McKinnon wrote about acting, and he, again, I'm paraphrasing because I couldn't find it. He said it was like you put your stuff down and you take on somebody else's stuff for a while. You're taking on the character stuff. It's the same sort of thing that Billy Bob talks about. Because Billy Bob he doesn't try not to be himself. He tries to be himself as this character, as this guy. And I think that's a really beautiful way to do it. And I think the Ray's not too far different from that. And I don't know. I mean, it'd be fun to talk to Chastain about it because she's Juilliard trained. And it's fun to actually see her performances. I remember, and I can't remember exactly, but I can remember that when she first broke out, which is about 10 years ago, 2011, where she was in like 6 films, including Take Shelter, Jeff Nichols' film, which she's really great in. Well, when she broke out, there was some review, and it wasn't even a negative review. It was somebody wrote that she was a recessive presence on screen, and I don't know how they got that. I really don't. I think it was a review of Zero Dark 30 actually, and I don't think that's true. I think that maybe she was playing a recessive presence in that film, which kind of, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's sort of like the guy's not here to defend himself, and it might have been a perfectly, maybe I'm misunderstanding it, maybe I'm misremembering it. It just seems to me like, being a good actor does not necessarily mean being the one that magnetizes the eyeballs and holds everybody's attention all the time. I think what you're doing is you're playing a role, which means you're doing something that's been defined by another intelligence. It could be your own intelligence. You could have written this and then play it, but you're in service to the play, the film, the intent of the creator. Okay? I mean, that's basically what I see acting as. And I think it's an interesting thing the way we, in movies, I guess it probably goes back before that because, there's always been hams and there's always been people who have chewed up scenery, and there's always been people who go on stage basically to get the attention and not necessarily to do the work. And I guess I understand that because, sort of like we all, or most of us, like the attention. And some of us like it a whole lot more than others. I mean, Gene Lyons, I think Gene Lyons said that, what writers like to do is go into rooms, stay by themselves all the time, do their work, and then when they come out, have everybody applaud them. And that's not untrue. That's not untrue. We do, I would never, presume that anybody, would care about my presence at anything or like that, but it's always nice to have someone say, I read you and I like your work, or I read you and it's interesting or whatever. It's sort of like, but if you're doing creative work, the creative work is what has to matter to you, I think. And so it'd be interesting to see what Chastain has to say about these things. I mean, because some people become movie stars because they want to be movie stars, and some people become movie stars just as just as an accident. It's just a byproduct of the work they do. And that's how I describe her career. Of course, there aren't many, like big head female movie stars who don't like, who aren't noted for their work. I mean, I could name a few, and it would be unkind. But most of the guys I'm thinking about, people like Tom Cruise, who's actually a good actor, and but his persona has overwhelmed everything else. I mean, that happened to Clint Eastwood years ago. I mean, I think Clint Eastwood's now in a position where he can kind of act more than he could when he was churning out, the spaghetti westerns. I mean, and the Dirty Harry films. I mean, I think that he's able now at 91 to do it a little differently than he was doing it when he was in his prime earning career. When he was a young movie star or a youngish movie star. So there you go. Speaking of Eastwood, I mean, I have to say, because it's required, that I didn't care for Cry Macho at all, and I really couldn't get past the first half of it because there's so much in it that seemed ridiculous to me. Starting with Dwight Yoakam, who's one of my favorite people, having to do this 4-minute expository rant, like in the very first scene where he's going like, well, Mike, you used to be really this, and then that happened, and the pills and the booze and the tragedy and all that. It's sort of like Clint Eastwood's character knows everything that you're saying to him. You don't have to read people's resumes back to them. You're doing that because you don't trust your audience, Mr. Eastwood. And Clint Eastwood has a lot of virtues as a filmmaker. He is straightforward. He does move things along sometimes. But, those early scenes, and then the woodenness when he finally gets to Mexico and encounters the kid, and there's a scene where he starts to box with a kid, and it's like that. It's like, and the kid's going, oh, no, senor, you're so fast. All right. That reminded me of Woody Allen. That reminded me of that sort of wishfulness, I mean, sort of like in a different kind of way. And I think that, I talked about this on the radio last week, I really think that Woody Allen and Clint Eastwood are not so far apart as filmmakers, and that they've both figured out ways to efficiently make what they want to make. And maybe they've gotten too good at that because they get to do anything they want to do. And it might be helpful for both of them to have more of an editor and more people saying no. Okay, that rant's over. The last thing I want to touch on it, I admit I'm going through this quicker because I did this before and I actually hit the thing here and shut it off halfway. Boop, cut it off. This is we're in this part of the season. Fall's here. I've got my window open. It's great. We have all this pent-up supply of movies. I don't know if there's demand. I really don't. I don't know if people are going to flock to these movies or not, but we've got Bond coming in 2 weeks. We've got Dune coming. We've got all these movies coming. A big tsunami of movies is coming. We're getting ready for that. And we're getting ready for Filmland. And then we have Hot Springs. And I think back in the day, and it's been since 2008 since I've been to the Toronto Film Festival. We don't go to film festivals like we used to. We go to the local ones, and maybe we'll pick one and go off there. This year we're going to the Tallgrass Film Festival in Wichita because Karen, my wife, movie style founder, our prospective editor at the Democrat-Gazette, is a juror in, she picked, I don't know what the category was, but she had to watch 4 movies for this festival and give one an award. Okay, so she gave one an award, and so we're going to go there. And maybe I'll talk about those films next week, but because they're all fun. And I'll see you later. Bye.